Hello. So, don't know if you've watched the infamous Baldur's Gate 3 panel from Hell on Tuesday? I think it was on Thursday. I think. It certainly was something. If you've seen that bear scene, then you know, I think everyone's either really hyped about it or you are very disgusted by it. But either way, I think it definitely helps it definitely helps spread the name around. So before that's coming out. The game is coming out in less than a month, and on PC anyway, I think, and I wanted today to basically do a little ranking of all the subclasses that you can play in D&D, because D&D is a game about creating a character, really, and telling a story, but what kind of character you make varies quite a bit. So I have very limited experience when it comes to the actual game, Baldur's Gate, and I recognize that some of the that song is a bit. Hang on, let's turn this down. I recognize that some of these songs. Okay, got distracted. Some of these subclasses and classes themselves are functionally different from the actual D&D board, not tabletop game. So I don't have much experience with what the game side of things it is. I'm sure once I start playing it, I might retrace on this. But today I want to focus more on the rank on how they perform on the tabletop game. Now, let me bring up. This is all the official launch subclasses that's in the these are all the official game subclasses that's going to be in the game. So is my mic too close? I'm gonna move it. It might be a bit loud. So these are all the official subclasses, and you can see that it's not as extensive as the one that's actually in the game, but there are quite a few. So you can see Barbarian there. It's Sorcerer. There's the new Monk subclasses. There's a Paladin. Then here's a bunch of the Clerics and Wizards. So some of these are, let's say, infamous for not being as strong in the tabletop, or some are infamously a lot stronger than the others. So I'm interested to see how they'll fine-tune the game in terms of how these subclasses perform. But yeah, so obviously gaming and tabletopping is two different experience and mediums, so I think there's going to be a stark difference in even if they have the same ability. I think the experience is going to be different. For example, what's a good example here? Necromancy. Necromancy wizard is a good point. So necromancy in the tabletop, there is always this problem with like padding out your turn. So instead of having one person do one attack or one spell, if you summon a bunch of creatures, you have to deal with 4 or 5 or even more creatures doing different turns, moving different places at turn. Obviously that could be really annoying in the tabletop because a turn takes long enough already, and you know, having multiple people gathered in a group, the most valuable resource you have is attention and time. So necromancy really is one that sort of dominates the entire playtime. So that's in the tabletop sense, but obviously when you're playing a video game, I don't know if they're going to set them to automatic attacks, but even if not, the speed at which you can do things obviously speeds up a lot. So even if you're playing multiple people, this will probably be a lot smoother in the total experience. Now another one that I just remembered is Sorcerer. Wild Magic Sorcerer. I have tried a little bit in the game, and I have to say it's a big improvement for me personally. Just because if you I'll get into this when we're doing the ranking, but if you ever looked at the actual rules for the Sorcerer, especially the Wild Magic Sorcerer, a lot of it is like all of the triggers for this wild magic. If you don't know, but quick summary is that Wild Magic Sorcerer, if they cast a spell, there's a chance that some funky stuff could happen. Sorry, if you hear the pause, because my nose is slightly blocked. So yeah, but in the tabletop, a lot of the abilities rely on random chances, i.e., rolling a die for something to happen, or what I found more worse is there's certain abilities that only are given back to you whenever the DM or the Dungeon Master deems appropriate, which could nerf or buff your character quite a lot, depending on the frequency of this happening, and B, you become like this little like DM attention slot. It's like, can I have this thing that is in my class, but I need you permission for, which sometimes just sucks out from the atmosphere they're trying to build. And while in the game, you know, it's all in the background, right? All the calculations in the background. It just happens, and yeah, that's one of the subclass I look forward to a lot more in the game than actually playing in tabletop. Yeah, so with that said, let's get rid of that. I'll probably make a video on just that's basically a condense of this stream of just the subclasses in that game and put it out. But today we're going through all of it. So here's a list of about almost 120 subclasses that's currently in the game. So I've been debating, because there's realistically 2 ways you can do this. I can either rank them as a whole, in terms of how well it performs as a subclass of the class, i.e., like how well the subclass compares to the other subclass in the class, or I could just rank them as a whole. But then one thing I do realize is that then what might happen is that if my personal bias makes me think that certain 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 classes are just better or worse than another, then all their subclasses will kind of tend to be lower as well. So I don't know. I think I haven't really made a proper decision yet. I think I'm gonna feel it in terms as I go along. But I think ideally I want it to I wanna have all these. I want to have a bit of both, probably. I don't want my perception of the class to overwhelm this tier list, but I also don't want to just rate them all individually, making essentially 13 sub tier list in one. So I'm gonna play a bit on both. So criteria. What am I looking for? Okay, so the first, obviously, is combat, because D&D ultimately is a combat-based game. A lot of the rules are based on combat. So I'm going to look at how well they perform in terms of combat. So specifically, how much damage they output, how well can they control buff, debuff, that kind of thing. Can they perform in their role? Can they distract? Can they are they versatile in combat? Can they deal with multiple situations? What if someone's flying or someone's invisible? How well can they react? That kind of thing all plays a bit into the factor. The other thing is the more social side of things. How well can they? How much of an advantage they allow in terms of communicating with the world, basically with different people, with the environment. This is where the classes like the Bard can really shine. And the last thing I think is kind of how much versatility they have. So D&D, you don't always just meet a combat and that's it. You have to fight, and then that's the end of the encounter. Usually, you have to even figure out how to get to the encounter, or how to even the encounter might not even be enemies. It's just you need to get to one place to the other, but there's a cliff in the way, for example. Now, versatility I'm looking for is if they can actually deal with these situations. This is where classes, I think, like Druid, Wizard, Artificer might have a bit more of a advantage. And then I think lastly, there's also just something unique about for each class. So each subclass obviously belongs to a class. I think that goes without saying. But that class itself have a identity and something about them that makes them fits them into a particular slot. I would rate them on how well they interact with the class's ability. Now feel free to correct me, or if you disagree with anything I said, feel free to leave a comment or something. But yeah, so that's my criteria going into this. Now I'm only going to rank all the official Wizard of the Coast published 5e D&D content subclasses. So if you look closely, the subclasses here that I will not consider, such as the Gunslinger and the Cobalt Soul and Open Sea Paladin, because those are given by Matthew Mercer. So I won't, as part of the Critical Role, podcasting, those are his main subclass. So I won't consider those, and I won't consider any Unearthed Arcana, which is the playtest if you're not aware of D&D, because those are as mentioned, those are still in the subclass, in the playtest. So yeah, so as of July, there is 117 subclass. Yeah, let's just get started. All right, so let's start with the Artificer, which is there's 4 subclasses: the Alchemist, the Armorer, the Artillerist, and the Battlesmith. Now I've played the Battlesmith before, and I've seen people. I've seen a fellow what's it called? Not teammate. A player in my group played the Artillerist. So that's the experience I have for this. I think what I'm going to look for here is how well they interact as well with the infusions. Obviously, that's a big deal, and what new ability they bring to the table, and as well as how, obviously how well it actually performs. It could be it could be very interesting, but if it's shit, then let me just adjust the volume slightly. Yeah, if it's shit, then there's no point of ranking high. So the Alchemist. Let's have a read. What does the... Oh, by the way, I do have all the subclass abilities open on the side here, and I'm going to be reading them through as well as while I have a think about where to put this. So Alchemist. So Dual Proficiency is one of the key aspects they have. They gain the proficiency in Alchemist supplies, but for the most part, I'm going to ignore that because 2 proficiency in tabletop. I don't know about you, but in my table, it comes out at most nichely, at most like maybe once a session. So, and with different specialization with supplies, it's not exactly groundbreaking ability to rank them on. They get these spells mostly some sort of poison dealt spells, Healing Word, Ray of Sickness, Flaming Sphere, Melf's Acid Arrow, Gaseous Form, Mass Healing Word, Blight's Death Ward, Cloud Kill, and Raised Dead. Raised Dead was pretty good, but that's probably, but that is at level 17, which is quite late in the game. They're good, but all in all, these are all a bit spells that you don't get normally as an Artificer. I believe, yep. But one concern is because of your limited spells as a half-caster, which means they don't have the full progression of a regular spellcaster like a wizard. Instead, it only half as fast. A lot of these spells seems to be instantaneous damage. I would say these spells are good, but not the best. So Healing Word obviously is pretty good, as you don't get that normally as a Artificer. And healing in D&D usually, I feel, unless you have ability that lets you increase your amount of healing or do healing over time, it's harder to... It's definitely going to be it's more annoying to keep someone alive than to let them go unconscious and bring them back, because the amount of healing you do is probably inconsequential to the amount of damage they might take before they go down. And with how death works in D&D, unless they are taking a lot of damage, it doesn't really matter how much they go past 0. So healing was good. Okay, so but the main important ability they have is the experimental elixir. Elixir? No, not elixir. Sorry, elixir. So the problem is it's a randomly triggered table. So you roll a d6, and depending on what you roll at the end of a long rest, you can create a elixir or multiple when you get to higher level. You can make additional ones with a spell slot of first level or higher. That's okay. That's pretty good, but the random aspect does make it. I don't think that fits the theme quite. You almost seem like more of a bumbling mad scientist than a actual, alchemist creating potion for every situation. So I'd say that even though it has versatility, it actually, because you can't control what elixir you're making, it's actually a diminished what's the word I'm looking for? It's a disadvantage in terms of how well you can react to situation. So the type of elixir you can make either gives you some more hit points, increase your walking speed, gives you a bit more AC or your armor class, gives you increase a d4 to your attack roll or saving throw, gives you flight, or lets you test the outer self spell. So these are pretty good abilities. So I think overall that is it's not a super strong ability. If you can choose what drinks you can make, that would put it as a pretty strong ability, I think. But because of the randomness, I'll have to put it down slightly. So what else do you get? You so whenever you cast a spell at 5th level, you can add your intelligence modifier to a damage roll that deals acid, fire, necrotic poison, or healing. That's okay. That's a flat bonus increase. That's pretty good. Although that would depend, honestly, and I don't have the time to investigate it, on how much spells you have that actually causes healing, acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage. So, yeah. But that's okay. And then there, at 9th level, if you drink an elixir, someone drinks your elixir, they gain temporary hit point equals to 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier. And also, sorry, how to drink that. You can cast Lesser Restoration without using a spell slot or preparing. A number of times equals to your intelligence modifier. Okay, per long rest. That's alright. That adds on to your ability to make elixir, which at 9th level you can only make 2? I don't know. Feels, in my opinion, a bit low. So if there's more elixirs you can drink at this point, then it might be a better ability. I don't know. And then at 15 level, you're resistant to acid and poison damage. Cool. Immune to the poison condition. That's good. and it's an upgrade to the previous. You can get greater restoration and heal, which gives you 70 hit points you can share amongst the group without expending a spell slot once per long rest. Okay, and that's all the abilities they have. So I would say, if you can make more elixir and you can choose what elixir you make, I would say this might be like probably even high A. But just because of you have to utilize your spell slots at that point, to which you don't have, like what, 5th level you have 4 first level, 2 second level. You probably want to use spells in the combat as well. 9th level you have what, like a 5th level wizard amount of spell slots. I wouldn't say, and they're all random as well, so you might have to cycle through a few elixir to get the one you want, like if you want flight for like 3 people. So I'm thinking I'll put it in C for now. I think C is about average for me. So just because of the randomness in the ability with comparison to, you know, the kind of theming they have as well. But you know, I'll have a look at this. I'll make some changes maybe later once I've done with the list. All right, Armorer. So Armorer is one of the new ones in Tasha's Cauldron, which came out in, gosh, 2-3 years ago. But you get Smith's tools, you get a few magic missile, thunder wave, mirror image, shatter, hypnotic pattern, very good, lightning bolt, fire shield, greater invisibility, pass wall, war force. So a lot of offensive and defensive kind of spells. War force and hypnotic pattern are particularly good as well. Greater invisibility. These some good spells here, especially early on. So the main ability you get is your arcane armor, which you can make. You can turn a suit of armor into it. You can ignore the usual strength requirement that they have. So if you want to wear a very heavy plate armor, you don't need this required strength for you to move as well as fast. You can use it as your spellcasting focus, which is fine. I find when you play TTRPG, the which hand is holding focusing doesn't, sometimes you try to follow it, but sometimes you just let slip, or people don't follow it strictly, so it is what it is. The armor is attached to you, can't be removed to your will, against your will, covers the body. You get retract or deploy the helmet as a bonus action. Armor replaces any missing limb. So these are all more fluff text, really. But in terms of combat, but like in the very niche situation where your character loses a limb, hey, there you go. You can don or doff an armor as an action. Again, these are mostly quite but basically what this allows you is you can basically wear I believe okay, I just slightly missed that. You also you get proficiency with heavy armor, so you can wear very heavy armor. And yeah, you can which is something that none of the other artificers can do, which obviously gives them a few bonus points. So what can you do with these armors? So you can make it into two different types: a guardian or infiltrator. So when you make an attack with the armor, you can use intelligence instead of your strength or dexterity, which is pretty good in my opinion, because you can focus all your limited amount of points into intelligence. So Guardian has Thunder Gauntlets, deals 1d8. Creature hit by the gauntlet, disadvantage on attack rolls until the start of their next turn. Okay, and then they can your next turn. Sorry. Attack pro against targets other than you. Sorry, I was skipping through words. And also you have Defensive Field, which is a bonus action. You can gain temporary hit point equals to your level, replacing any temporary hit point you already have. Okay, that's fine. So it makes you a bit more of a tanky character, and so you can go to the front lines and take hits, I guess. So Infiltrator, you customize your armor. You can fire a range weapon attack that deals 1d6. The range is pretty good: 90 feet short range, 300 feet long range. And once on each of your turn, when you hit a creature with it, you can deal an extra 1d6 damage, so 2d6 damage at third level. That's alright, at will. Increase your walking speed, that's fine. It's a good bonus. Advantage on dexterity stealth. If the armor normally impose disadvantage, they cancel out. So that is good. 5th level, you get extra attack, which again enforces the role that you are more of a martially character in terms of artificer. 9th level, you can use your artificer infusion to modify your armor. Armor counts as special separate items for the purpose of an infused item. So your armor, your boots, your helmet, and the special weapon can all bear one of your infusion. So, in addition, the maximum number of items you can infuse at once increases by 2, but it must be part of your arcane armor. I really like this because, again, like I said, the main ability of an artificer is the infusion, and letting you do more infusion is definitely a good thing. Sorry, my nose is really blocked, sorry. Alright. And the finally 15 level perfected armor. If you're a guardian armor, when a huge or smaller creature sees you, and it ends a turn within 30 feet of you, you can use a reaction to magically force it to make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. On this failed save, you pull the creature up to 25 feet directly in a unoccupied space. So yeah, you can pull character off cliffs as well, I guess. I don't know how you roll that usually, but you can make a melee attack against it as part of this reaction, which is pretty good. Oh, if you pull the creature within 5 feet, you can make a melee. So yeah. You can use it as many times as a proficiency bonus, which is 5 at this point, I think. And if you're an infiltrator, any creature that takes lightning damage from a lightning launcher has glimmers and sheds dim light of 5 foot radius. It's at disadvantage on attack rolls against you. the next attack roll against it has advantage, basically like a guiding bolt, if you know that spell, but it's less damage, I guess. Oh, and if that attack hits, it takes it up to another 1d6, so 3d6 for a hit. Yeah, I think this subclass plays decent role in making you Iron Man. Basically, it's very inspired by Iron Man. I think the fact that it's a unique one where you can definitely play more of a tanky character as with Artificer, almost like a Paladin-esque, with very interesting ability. You can make different types of armor. You can put different types of infusion into your armor. I think it's pretty fun, along with the good spells it put. I think this one goes either like high B or like low A. I'll put it a high B for now, because then you have the Artillerist. Artillerist is one I've saw played in gameplay, and I can tell you they do a lot of damage because spells you have is Shield, Defensive, Thunder Wave, Scorching Ray, which is very good bang for your buck for your limited spell slot, Shatter, Fireball, very good, Wind Wall, Ice Storm, Warfire, Cone of Cold, Warforce. So you can see a lot of hard-hitting damage spell in there. They can create this Eldritch Cannon, which can be small or tiny. You can, once you create it, you can't do so again until you create a spell slot. I think this is better than the Alchemist one because this thing lasts for, I believe, at least one encounter. So it's not something one person drinks and it's you can only do. It's something that lasts for a while. Does it say how long it lasts? Or I guess it doesn't. I guess it just lasts until it's gone because it has an AC and can hit, I guess. Yeah, so that's even better. So you can make a flamethrower, which does makes a 15-foot cone of fire, and anyone in that takes dexterity saving throw of 2d8 fire damage on a fail, and half as much on a success. A force ballista, which does 2d8 force damage of a creature in 120 feet. And if the target is a creature, it's pushed 5 feet. Okay. Or a protector, which grants anyone 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier temporary hit points, which is pretty good if you think about how long it lasts, and if you use it in between, you can almost like save scum it and just keep re-rolling until everyone in your group has 8 plus your intelligence modifier of temporary hit point, which is pretty good. So versatile, very definitely. 5th level, you can create an arcane firearm, which if you cast artificial spell through it, you can roll a d8 and add that to one of the damage roll. This makes cantrip a very, very powerful tool because at this point, if you're casting like say Firebolt, it's 2d10 plus a d8, so that's pretty good at 5th level. And plus, then you have your cannon as well, if you want to do anything with it. So at 9th level, or the cannon damage increases by 1d8, goes up to 3d8. You can, as an action, detonate it, causing everyone within 20 feet to take 3d8 force damage if they fail the dexterity saving throw. So again, more damage and an emergency oh shit button, basically. 15 level. You and allies have half cover within 10 feet, so plus 2 to your AC when you're within 10 feet of the cannon. You can have 2 cannons at the same time and create 2 in the same action, and you can activate them both with the same bonus action. You can determine if they're identical or different. This makes, again, essentially increasing the damage output even further, and gives you a good defensive bonus, because you have a strategic thing now where you can try and have 2 cannons that surround all your teammates, one in the front, one in the back, maybe, both doing either different things, either ballista with a flamethrower up top, or you can have defensive. It really increases your combat versatility while maintaining that high amount of damage. So I think, honestly, I'll put this above the armor. I'll put this maybe at low A for now, just because it really depends if you value damage over, say, armor has a hypnotic pattern, which theoretically can just end an encounter. So, but I think overall, as good as armor is, I think it's hard to say. I'll put those I think those are almost equal grounds, but I think artillery, just from my personal experience, just slightly ekes it out. Alright, Battlesmith. This one I personally played. Basically is if you want to be a pseudo ranger as an artificer. So, spells you get: Heroism Shield, Branding Smite, Warding Bond, Aura of Vitality, which is a very good healing spell, a Conjure Barrage, Aura of Purity, Fire Shield, Banishing Smite, and Mass Cure Wounds. And you also know Martial Weapon, and you can use your intelligence and your strength and dexterity, much like the armor, but on any magic weapons. And remember, if you put that infusion into your weapon, it becomes a magic weapon. So, yeah. And then the Steel Defender, a faithful companion that basically acts like a metal robot, which you can cast bending spell to heal it. And it has its own ability stuff. It basically is another tanky character you can have up top doing attack, basically. But honestly, I don't think if it's better than the cannon. The best thing it has is something called deflect attack they can do as a reaction, which it gives the creature 1 disadvantage attack roll if they attack someone other than the defender. So, but I feel like the cannon itself has more versatility when it comes to that. Comes to combat. So, 5th level extra attack. Again, you can see now this role. You are basically not a really attack like the armor. You're more of a attack specialist, like like a fighter, for example. But because you don't have heavy armor, so I think like the best way to play this is probably as a ranged character with crossbow and arrow, or more thematically if you get a pistol or a gun. You know, other guns. So 9th level, if your steel defender hits a target, you can channel magic energy. They can take extra force damage, or you can heal one person for 2d6 every time you hit someone with your magic weapon or your steel defender. You can do this number of times equals to your intelligence modifier. This I found pretty good in terms of combat, just because you don't need anything. It's just an extra. It's not like a reaction or anything. It's just something you do when you're on top of your attack. So, yeah, the only thing limiting it is your intelligence modifier. So yeah, that increases your healing and attacking ability. It's a fairly decent way to do healing, I guess, just because it is a resource, but you know, it's not like you're wasting a turn only to heal. You're still doing an attack. And 15 level, I never got this far, but your extra damage you do goes to 4d6, even better. The steel defender has a +2 to AC, and when it deflects attack, the attacker takes force damage equals to 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier, which, you know, it's not nothing. So overall, I think this is a fairly decent class. I think where I would put it, I'll probably put it also in a B, but above or below the armorer, I don't. I would say, in terms of sheer combat ability, artillerist, obviously, I think it's above both. But when you're comparing Battlesmith and Armourer, Battlesmith has probably better healing and attacking, just because of you get extra attack, but then you also get your companion attack. But like I said at the start of this, of the Artificer is mainly focused on, I think, infusion. So armor giving you the ability to do more infusion on your armor is such a cool ability. I would edge it slightly above the Battlesmith. All right, well, like that's an hour gone, and I've done one of the smallest one out of the 13 classes there are. So buckle up, there's gonna be a long stream. I might take a few breaks in between, but yeah. Barbarian. My best friend's favorite class, just because, well, I don't know, it's between this and the fighter, but its main ability is the rage, which, if you don't know, is a thing you activate that makes you hit harder by a bit, +2 at the start anyway, and makes you test less damage against physical attacks like the bludgeoning, slashing, piercing attacks from non-magical sources. This is the monkey, no-brain, don't think, well, attack class, if you prefer. But there is, if you can see, 8 subclasses that all provide something different. Hang on, let me just have a sip of water. My throat is getting parched. Don't want to burn my throat out like last time. That's better. Alright, and let's start from the top then. Ancestral Guardian. So Ancestral Guardian is I believe probably the closest thing you can call a tank in this game. If you're more familiar with like actual like MMORPG, a tank usually not only can suck up damage, their main ability is that they can redirect other people's damage onto them, so they attract the hits. So, which is, I guess, fairly familiar with the Battlesmith, but that was more on your companion, which has way less health than the Barbarian. So, third level, you get these. When you're raging, the first creature you hit with an attack is possessed by these spectral things on you. Until the start of your next turn, the target has disadvantage on any attack roll that isn't against you. That's what I mean. So, obviously, that doesn't help when there's multiple enemies, but when you're fighting one big thing, for example, this really helps. And when a target hits a creature when the target hits a creature other than you with the attack, that creature has resistance to the damage dealt by the attack. And this ends early if your rage ends. So yeah, I think that this plays a quite a decent role, because tank classes are hard to come by in D&D, and this is probably one of the only few methods you can actually do something like this. 6th level, you can protect if you're raging and another creature can see you within 30 feet takes damage. You can use reaction to reduce that damage by 2d6, and it goes up as you go up in class, in levels, sorry. Yeah, again, this is a protected class, basically. Someone's getting hit next to you, don't worry, they're not getting they're not taking as much damage anymore. Only thing is, it uses a reaction which could potentially lose you an attack of opportunity, which as a barbarian you always wanna do damage, I guess. Yeah, and I guess I didn't mention what my special criteria for barbarian is, but if you can tell, is how they interact with the range. Honestly, most subclasses I believe in for barbarian does interact with the range pretty well. So, except for one we'll get to next. Anyway, so 10th level, consult the spirits. So you can cast augury and clairvoyance without using a spell slot or material component, which makes sense because you don't have spell slots unless you multiclass. So augury lets you basically ask the DM, hey, is this thing I'm about to do a good idea or a bad idea? Clairvoyance lets you see somewhere that you're familiar with without being there, I think. Yeah. And it's an upgrade version as well, because your clairvoyant summons one of your ancestral spirits instead of a spherical sensor, once per short or long rest. I think that's good. It increases the versatility outside of combat for a barbarian, which is honestly probably one of their weakest points, except for range attacks, which that's another thing that will increase my personal ranking for them. So 14th level, ancestral spirits grow powerful enough to retaliate. When you use a spirit shield to reduce damage, the attacker takes an amount of force damage equal to the damage that your spirit shield prevents. So this kind of takes away the kind of one glaring thing about the Spirit Shield, which is your reaction. You don't get to do attack of opportunity. This gives you, maybe not that, but a consultant prize, a consolation prize, like a consultant prize. Yeah. So at this point, it's what 4d6, so it's pretty good. So overall, I think I wouldn't call this the strongest, but I think this definitely was one of probably a pretty strong Barbarian subclass overall. And in general, gosh, it's hard to. I would put this, say, maybe. It's between A or B again. I'd say B, a very high B. Alright. Battle Rager. Here we go. This is the first of the infamous subclasses. Known as Axe Idiot in Dwarvish. They specialize in wearing bulky spiked armor, which is a medium armor of 14 plus at max 2 of your dex. So one thing about this is there's used to be a restriction that dwarves only, with a DM being able to lift that restriction, but honestly I don't know many people that actually picks the subclass to start with, and let's see why. So 3rd level, you gain the ability to use spiked armor as a weapon. While you're wearing spiked armor and is raging, you can use a bonus action to make one melee attack with your armor spike, which is good. Barbarians, you don't have much for the bonus action, but their rage is a bonus action, so you can't use this ability when you're starting. So once you're raging, sure. If the attack hits, your spike does 1d4 piercing damage, and use your strength. Additionally, when you use your attack action to grapple a creature, the target takes 3 piercing damage if your grapple check succeeds. Now, I'm not saying 3 damage is nothing. It's pretty low though, and as you level up, it gets low. It becomes inconsequential, but it isn't nothing. The bigger problem here is how grapple really works in D&D. You see, grapple is is something you can do instead of attacking, but what that does is you need to make a strength check, which usually a barbarian will succeed. But what they actually do is they give them the grappled condition, which sounds dumb, but in 5e, what it basically does is it makes them not being able to move, and that's about it. So they can still attack you. They can still do anything else as normal. They don't have advantage, disadvantage. They just can't move. But they can also use an action to get out of it. And if you or it is forced out of that position, the grapple breaks. So there's people way smarter than me that can probably talk way more in length on why grapple isn't well designed in 5e. From what I've heard, it's just, honestly, as a barbarian, just take the attack action. Unless you have something you really want to do with your grapple. Like, someone's escaping, for example. But if someone's escaping, you really don't want to do that 3 piercing damage to it. I don't know. Anyway, so Reckless Abandon, 6th level, You gain temporary hit point equals to your Constitution modifier. They vanish if any of them are left in your range ends. That's good because temporary hit points doubles effectively when you're raiding. So when you're using Reckless attack, you automatically gain temporary hit points, and as a barbarian, you're probably going to use Reckless attacks non-stop anyway. So that's good. 10th level, as beginning at 10th level, you can take the dash action as a bonus action while you're raging. Again, sure, this is good. Really using up that bonus action economy when you're raging. But then, yeah, obviously you can't use your spike attacks. I'm guessing this is more for you to catch up on an enemy. 14th level. At the 14th level, when a creature within 5 feet of you attacks with you hit with a melee attack, the attacker takes 3 piercing damage if you are raging, aren't incapacitated, and are wearing spiked armor. At 14th level, 3 piercing attack is not a lot, honestly. I really wish this at least scaled somehow better, but 3 piercing damage at level 14 is bad. I'm not gonna lie. So honestly, there's some unique ideas here, like the temporary hit points and the raging, which while you're raging, and the dash action. Grapple's interesting, but doesn't really function well in 5e. I'm not gonna lie, this is going enough. Just because, you know, it is what it is. I mean, if it scales better, it could at least maybe go up to a C, but there's just better barbarians at doing the other things. If you want to take less damage, another barbarian subclass can do that better. If you want to do retaliation damage, there's another barbarian for that. I guess the only thing you want to wear this if you want to wear spiked armors, but I feel like from the people I met, they tend to like to wear no armor for barbarians because it's more of a fantasy thing. So it is what it is. That's just my opinion. Alright, the next one is one I'm not too familiar with. It's the Beast Barbarian. So you can either be a lycanthrope, like a werewolf, or wear something. You could be like some druidic descendant or something, or you can be a vampire. Basically, what happens is when you rage, part of you transform. You can manifest a natural weapon, which counts as a melee weapon, simple melee weapon, and you can either be a bite that does 1d8 and gives you a number of hit points. And once on each turn, if you have less than half your hit points, you can regain hit point equals to your proficiency bonus. So a mini heal when you're low on health. Claws, you can do 1d6, and once on each turn, you can make one additional claw attack as part of the same action. Not even a bonus action, just another attack claw action as part of your action. Or tail, which has a 10 feet range and does 1d8. If someone hits you, wait, hang on, no. 10 feet range is something else. Sorry, which is 1d8. Yeah, reach of property. Sorry, confused. Yeah, 10 feet range. If someone within 10 feet hits you, that's what got me confused. You can use a reaction to add 1d8 to your AC for that turn, for that attack, to cause it to miss you, perhaps. Which, honestly, fairly interesting abilities. I think those are all good abilities to have. You can either choose to be basically a tankier tank, constantly generating health as you attack, do more attacks, or you can choose to be a bit more defensive and attack from slightly further away. 6th level, you can overcome resistance and immunity from your natural weapons can overcome resistance and immunity from non-magical attacks and damage, so they become magical if you're fighting another barbarian, I guess. Once per short or long rest, you can choose to either gain a swimming speed equals to your walking speed, which is quite fast at this point. You can breathe underwater, or you can gain a climbing speed, including climbing upside down without needing an ability check. Or you can extend your jump by a number of feet equal to strength ability check, which is quite far. You can do that once per turn. So, again, versatility in combat and outside of combat, I think. So, 10th level. When you hit a creature with a natural weapon, you can curse them with rabies, I guess. They need to make a saving throw, or they would either have to make an melee attack against another creature that you can see, or they themselves take a few psychic damage. You do this number of time equals a proficiency bonus. That's honestly pretty interesting, especially if you can get it to work on a big boss and have it attack like a squishier guy. 14th, you basically spread your rabies to your allies. When you rage, you can choose a number of willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you, equal to your Constitution modifier. You gain 5 temporary hit points for each creature that accepts it. Again, that's already better than the Battle Rager ability. Well, I guess at level 14, but still. Until that rage ends, the chosen creature can... the creature you chose can benefit from once from each of their turn. Either if they hit someone and deal damage to them, they can roll a d6 to add to that. Is that the only thing they can do? Yeah, okay, that's the only thing they can do. So you gain some health, and allies around you become better at hitting. Good for when you have a mainly martial or damage dealing group. Alright, overall versatility pretty high. Interesting abilities, yep. And I think the healing you can give later, and makes you really feel like the leader of a pack. I would say maybe a low A. next one, the Berserker. This is probably some people know about this. This was in Baldur's Gate 3, and if you don't know, it's slightly different probably. Actually, I don't know because I haven't played it, but I would assume so because the TTRPG one is infamous for a different reason. So when you go into rage, you can choose to go into a frenzied rage, and for the duration of this rage, you can make another single melee attack as a bonus action, which is good. But when your rage ends, you suffer 1 level of exhaustion. So exhaustion, if you don't know, is a pretty bad thing in D&D. So you gain stacks of you have a charge. So at first you gain disadvantage on ability checks. Later on, your speed decreases, your hit point max decreases by half. You get disadvantage on attack rolls. If you get 6 exhaustion, you die. So obviously, as a barbarian, you can only gain a few rages. Like at this point, at 3rd level when you gain it, it's like you have 3. But later on, you can go 6 unlimited, whatever. It is, in my opinion, too much of a consequence for just 1 extra bonus action attack, which, you know, it isn't nothing, but there is probably better ways you can get bonus action attacks that, you know, don't give you exhaustion every minute you use it. I think, yeah, so that's a very big drawback in my opinion for this subclass. Mindless Rage, though, 6th level, honestly, I think most people agree, should really be a base barbarian ability, because you can't be charmed or frightened while raging, and if you're charmed or frightened when you enter the rage, it is suspended for that duration. Barbarians is one of the bigger weaknesses as well, on top of the other stuff I mentioned, is mental saving throws. So the charisma, the intelligence, the wisdom saving throws, not exactly the greatest at, because they're more likely to be highly spec'd on the other physical 3. So having the ability to basically ignore charm and frighten is a very good ability, I think. So 10th level, you can gain, you can use your action to frighten someone. If the creature can see or hear you within 30 feet, it must make a wisdom saving throw or be frightened. On subsequent turn, you can use your action to extend the duration of this effect on the frightened creature until the end of your next turn. The creature, if they succeed, they can't use it for another 24. You can't use it on that creature for another 24 hours. So here's the thing. It takes up your action is my main concern. When you're a barbarian, you want to rage and you wanna do damage, because your rage ends if you don't do damage or get damage dealt to you. If you frighten someone, they most likely won't attack you or are unable to because they're too far away. And if you use your action to frighten it, and you have to use your action to continue frightening it, it's pretty bad. I think the only good thing is once they fail the first saving throw, you can keep frightening them and they can't do anything about it if you just keep doing it, I think. Yeah. like they can't make another saving throw if you stay within a certain feet amount of them and stay in line of sight. Bad thing is that you can't try again for 24 hours. Honestly, this is one of the big problems. Spellcasters can just have a spell way early on that probably does something better. Like fear, you can do that on a bunch of enemy, and you can gain that at like 5th level. Okay, 14th level. When you take damage from a creature within 5 feet of you, you can make a reaction to make a melee attack against that creature. Again, very good. Basically, you don't need to worry about attack of opportunity anymore. If they hit you, you're hitting back. Very good. So I think overall, it's not enough because there's a lot of good stuff in there. I don't know if it might just barely qualify as a C, maybe, just because of the charm, frighten immunity while raging, and the retaliation ability is pretty good. But I think the frenzy, rage, giving exhaustion, and the intimidating presence not really being that good. It kind of doesn't interact with rage, but it isn't exactly some ability you can use that increases your versatility as well. I mean, I would say it just puts it at a high D, maybe. I don't know, maybe that's controversial. But yeah, that's where I'll put it for now. Alright, Storm Herald. What is a Storm Herald? Basically, they are barbarians that have like nature aura is what they have. So you can choose desert, sea, or tundra when you rage, and it's a 10 feet aura from you. And the desert makes all other creatures in your aura take 2 fire damage. And increases to 3, 4, 5, and later 6 at 20th level. So your aura, when you activate your rage, you can the ability activates basically, and on each of your turn you can use a bonus action to reactivate. So you can use a reaction to make everyone take damage with your desert aura. Only problem is this is obviously not the desert aura is non-discriminate on allies and enemies, so probably don't want to be that close to the wizard or anyone else in your team. Really, you want to be a solo guy if you want to use your desert aura. Sea aura. Choose one other creature you can see. They make dex save or take 1d6 lightning damage, or half as much, and goes up to 4d6 later on. So more targeted damage to one creature only, and yeah. I mean, as a bonus action for each turn. That's not bad, not the worst, honestly. And Tundra, each creature you can see gains 2 temporary hit points. Of each creature of your choice in your aura gains 2 temporary hit points. So if you stick close to your allies, this goes up to again 3, 4, 5, 6 later temporary hit points at later level. Every turn is bonus action. Again, much better than honestly better than the Battle Rager one, I think. So yeah, so there's 3 choices here. Gives you a bit more versatility in combat, although each one has just because of how it works, you have to choose whether you're close to an ally, whether you're soloing in a bit enemies and you don't want to be close to your allies, you have to choose different auras. Adds a bit more tactical, but also if your selection might be limited if certain things happen. At 6th level, if you're using Desert Aura, you get resistant to fire damage. You don't suffer the effects of extreme heat, which you gain it. Sorry, you gain this when your aura isn't active. But you have to choose one basically. Alright, hang on. So can you change? Yeah, you can change it when you gain the level, so you can't change it in between ranges. So okay, so that's maybe not as much versatility as I thought previously. So you don't suffer the effect of extreme heat if you choose the desert one, and as an action you can touch a flammable object that isn't being worn or carried and set on fire. Sea, but if you're choosing the sea, you gain resistance to lightning damage. You can breathe underwater, and the swimming speed of 30 feet, which is slower than your walking speed at this point. Tundra, you gain a resistance to cold damage. You don't suffer the effect of extreme cold, and you can touch water and turn it in 5-foot cube into ice, which melts after 1 minute. Its ribbon abilities. I don't know if it actually does any versatility, just because probably the most useful is the underwater one. I've personally used extreme cold effects before, but it only happened for a little bit, and after that, it's not something you want to keep your players doing for a long time. So. Not the most useful ability. Alright. Let me change something. Got to set the music on the loop. There we go. Okay. At 10th level, each creature of your choice has damage resistance you gain from a Storm Soul feature. So if you're going into a red dragon's lair and you're a desert, everyone in your group can potentially just have fire resistance. I mean, that's pretty good, honestly. If a bit situational, but damage resistance is damage resistance. It's net positive, and if you give it to your whole group, it's pretty good. 14th level, you gain again an effect based on your aura. If it's desert, if a creature hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to force that creature to make a dexterity saving throw, and then the creature, if they fail, they take fire damage equals half your Barbarian. So a retaliation that's not as good as the Berserker one, but it is some damage. At this point, 7 is it's better than the 3 from the battle rating. C, when you hit a creature in your aura with an attack, you can use a reaction to force them to make a strength saving throw or knock them prone. So if you knock them prone, you can attack them with advantage, basically. You can't just stand up on their turn, but you do have 2 attacks. So do that on your first attack and you'll be cool. Tundra, when you're using your Storm Aura, you can choose one creature you can see within your aura. It must succeed on a strength saving throw, or its speed is reduced to 0 until the start of your next turn. So basically a pseudo grapple, basically. Probably a better grapple because you don't have to worry about using an action to grapple. So that's another oof for battle rager. But they don't take the free damage here, which very important free damage at level 14. Anyway, all in all, it's better than the battle rager. I'll say that. But the lack of versatility because of you having to choose one of the free abilities kind of pigeonholes you a little bit. But the abilities you gain from each individual one is not the worst, honestly. So I would say overall this does something interesting with the rage ability, but it isn't the most intriguing, I would say. So I'll probably put it, say, a high C. I'll put it a high C. Alright. Here we go. There's the Totem Warrior, or also known as the Wild Heart, I believe, and Wild something in the Baldur's Gate game. Baldur's Gate 3, specifically. So you can cast Beast Sense and Speak with Animals spell at that level. You can also choose a series of totems when you rage. So, I don't believe you can change this later on, so you need to make a good choice here. So you can choose Bear, which is the infamous Bear. Now that I'm just reminded of the bear scene and the Panda from Hell, but anyway, Bear. While raging, you have resistance to all damage except psychic. So this makes you very, very, very tanky, unless you're fighting a mind flare, perhaps. But there's ways to navigate this, but circumvent words. But yeah, this one is notoriously very good. Maybe overappreciated, but not definitely appreciated. I don't think it's overrated, but maybe not as super strong as it's not automatically super S tier. I don't think, just from that. Other stuff you can do. Eagle totem. If you're not wearing heavy armor or you're raging, which I don't see why you're wearing heavy armor in the first place, unless you're multi-classing. But other creatures have disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you, and you can use your dash action as a bonus action. So you can go dashing around place to place. But honestly, as a barbarian, I would like to stick in one place. And if they get attack opportunity, who cares? You're taking half damage anyways, and it keeps your range up. So Eagle, maybe. Elk, if you're not wearing heavy armor, again, you're raging and not wearing heavy armor, walking speed increases by 15 feet, which puts you very, very speedy. Which I guess if you like that kind of sort of stuff, go for it. But I think speed in D&D is a diminishing return because the map you play is only so big usually. So while raging, Tiger is the next one. Tiger totem. While you're raging, you can add 10 feet to your long jump distance and 3 feet to your high jump distance, which is cool, but also, not very useful. I mean, unless you fight very vertical maps a lot, Plus, I believe to do a long jump, you have to use your actual jump, your actual movement as well. So it's not like you gain 10 feet of movement as well. You just can jump 10 feet further. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely not as good as the bear, I don't think. And wolf, arguably, I think the only one really in comparison with the bear is while you're raging, your friends have advantage on melee attack roll against creature within 5 feet of you that is hostile to you. This could be very good if you have a mostly martials class, perhaps better than the bear. Letting everyone else have advantage against someone you're standing next to on melee makes you pretty good, but it will depend on the team composition. Right, 6th level. 6th level, you focused on basically choosing another totem ability. It could be the same one as 3rd level, or it could be different. So bear, you gain the might of a bear. Your carrying capacity is doubled, and you have advantage on strength check to push, pull, lift, and break. So this bear is not as good as the 3rd level bear. Carrying capacity usually kind of ignored by by DMs. Obviously, if we're playing Baldur's Gate 3, it's kind of coded in, so that's a bit more strict. But at this point, your carry capacity shouldn't be an issue. Push, pull, lift, break, I rarely see come to play. But you know. Alright, but then Eagle. Eagle, you have an eyesight. You can see up to 1 mile with no difficulty. Which, again, that's really up to the DM of putting things you can see within a mile. You can combine this with perhaps the observant feature, and then you can read people's lips from a mile away, which sounds very terrifying, but it is what it is. It's not super good, but it's a good, interesting ability if you want to plan to build your character like that. But additionally, dim light doesn't impose disadvantage to your wisdom check, perception checks, which, you know, is something that most DM kind of don't realize, that is the dim light impose disadvantage and darkness remove the ability to make perception checks rather than the other way around. So if you have dark vision, that's probably very good for you. Alright, and then the next is Elk Totem. While they're mounted or on foot, your travel pace is doubled. I rarely see travel pace actually come into play. So again, this is probably something from earlier stages of D&D development where they really didn't think that people would not disregard the travel pace ability as much, just because people would just kind of assume you go from one place to the other and that's it. Tiger Totem. Again, if your group plays differently, then you can leave the comment in the below and be like, actually I use my elk ability a lot, but for me I don't see it playing a part in the groups I play. The Tiger proficiency. You gain the proficiency in 2 skills from the following: athletics, acrobatics, stealth, or survival. More proficiency is always good, and these are very good for a barbarian. That being said, I mean, maybe, yeah. Considering acrobatics isn't and stealth isn't in your initial proficiencies you get as a barbarian. These can be quite useful if you want to make a stealthier, dexterity based barbarian, perhaps. Okay, wolf. You can track creatures while traveling at a fast pace. Again, and you can move stealthily while traveling at normal pace. Again, traveling pace isn't really used in. So overall, these features at level 6 has been rather uninspiring, I think, for how most people play D&D nowadays. 10th level, Spirit Walker. You can cast Commune with Nature as a spell, which is a spell that lets you gain knowledge from your surrounding territories. It can tell you stuff like what the terrain, any water within 3 miles of you, any important plants, material, animals, or people, powerful celestial, fey, fiend, elemental, undead, influence from other planes of existing buildings. You know, very. It's the free spell you can cast. It's pretty good. Adds to that. Definitely adds to the versatility of barbarians outside combat. Level 14, Totemic Attunement. Let's see. You can choose this another totem. Again, same or different from the one you chose before. So bear. Our third bear here is any creature within 5 feet of you that's hostile to you has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another creature with this feature. An enemy is immune to this effect if it can see or hear you, or if cannot be frightened. So let me read that. I read that with my mouth and not actually understood it. So, okay. Basically, it's similar to the Ancestral Guardian, which I think makes it. Then again, Ancestral Guardian lets you get a 3rd level. This one is at 14th level, but that's on top of everything else you get. But yeah, so that's with a slight limitation. Okay, Eagle. While raging, you have flying speed equals your walking speed. Only work in short bursts. You fall at the end of your turn if you're in the air. This helps with the range and ability that I've been mentioning about barbarians, specifically with how they are usually ill-equipped with dealing with flying enemies. Elk Totem. While raging, you can use bonus action during your turn to move past the creature space of a large or smaller creature. The creature must succeed on a strength saving throw or be knocked prone and take bludgeoning equal. So it's a charge ability, basically. Okay, Tiger. While you're raging, you can move. If you move at least 20 feet in a straight line against a large or smaller creature before making a melee attack, you can make an additional melee attack. Okay, as a bonus action. So a frenzy, similar thing with a condition. Wolf. While you're raging, you can use a bonus action and turn to knock a larger, smaller creature prone if you hit it with a melee weapon attack. Kind of like the elk without the weird moving past in space thing. Okay. I think those just increase your ability proficient in combat, really. Again, it really depends on what kind of character you want to build, but I think overall, I think Totem Warrior is probably one of the more versatile builder with powerful choices, definitely. So I'll put it at a high A, I think. It's definitely probably one of the stronger one. Again, I put it in S just because there are some weird there's some weird debt levels. 6th level doesn't really come into a play nowadays. 10th level is interesting at best and useless at the worst. But yeah, the again, bear, third level bear and wolf totem is definitely very strong, but I don't think it by itself solo carries it to an S. I don't think. Let me just yep. Okay, next one. This is one of the subclass my best friend played. Path of the Wild Magics. So, Wild Magic, if you heard me mention before, there is a sorcerer with Wild Magic. This is a similar ability, and I believe this is also in Baldur Gate 3. So, what does this subclass do? Well, you can, as a more versatile option outside of combat, you can sense magical abilities, almost like a detect magic spell. You can use this a few times equal to your proficiency bonus. And every time you rage, you roll a die. Randomly, you get some ability. You can either summon tendrils that you can use to attack. That you can, each creature that you can attack creatures within 30 feet of you and gain temporary hit points, or you can teleport, which takes you to an unoccupied space within 30 feet. You can summon a spirit that runs in one direction and explodes, which is quite random, honestly. You can infuse your weapon to turn it into force damage with the light and thrown property, which helps with the flying problem and the range problem we mentioned before. Whenever creature attacks you, they take 1d6 force damage. Whenever you gain +1 to AC, and while 10 feet of you, your allies gain the same bonus. Creatures, the ground becomes difficult terrain 50 feet around you, or finally, you can shoot a bolt of light from your chest that deals 1d6 radiant damage, and the creature needs to make a saving throw or be blind until the start of your next turn. And you can activate it as a bonus action on each of your turns. So there is a lot of very interesting stuff here that deals with a few problems that Barbarian faces, i.e. flying, movement, range, that kind of deal. Only problem is that it is random, so that like the alchemist before, reduces his reliability, I think. So at 6th level, it's a separate thing, but it is pretty good if you have spellcasters in your group. So you can harness your wild magic to bolster yourself or a companion. As an action, you can touch a creature, and you can do one of two things. You can either give them a D3, which is a very weird number, D3 to whenever they make an attack roll or ability check, or you roll the D3 and they gain as one of the spent spell slots that is equal to the number rolled or lower. So if you have spellcasters and you roll a 3, this could potentially refresh a fireball, a revivify, something very useful or game changing in the combat. So honestly, this is a very good support ability for good magically inclined party, and you can use this up to your proficiency bonus, like most things after Tasha. 10th level, whenever you rage, immediately after you take damage or fail a saving throw while raging, you can use your reaction to roll on the wild magic table immediately and produce the effect and replace it your current wild magic. So this again is random, but it also, I guess, in a way increases the reliability of what you want from the table if you can just keep re-rolling by taking damage. Doesn't necessarily guarantee what you want, and once you have what you want, you don't necessarily want to use this ability to and accidentally cause you to re-roll the table. But this changes at level 14, where you can roll the die twice and choose which of the two effects to unleash. If you roll the same number on both dice, you can ignore the number and choose any effect. So this increases the reliability of the table dramatically. So overall, sorry to my friend, but I don't think this is the strongest Barbarian out there. But I think the magic's recharge is very powerful. The ability you gain for the rage effect is probably quite strong, and especially at later level where you can keep changing it and also gain a better reliability on what you choose. It's again, like a lot of previous debates, is high A, it's high B or low A. I'm going to put it just below Beast. Alright, the last of our barbarians. It's the Zealot. The Zealot? Yeah. I've seen this played in one of the games that I DM'd for 5 levels. It wasn't a long campaign. I kind of gave up, I'm not gonna lie, on that campaign. I've got a different campaign I want to make, but anyway, it's not about me today. It's about this. This is another quite famous subclass, not for being bad. It's not infamous. It's pretty famous. It's probably the highest damage dealing barbarian subclass out there, just because better than the berserker with damage wise. I don't know the maths, but perhaps actually. So let's see. Divine Fury at 3rd level, you can channel Divine Fury when you're raging. The first creature you hit takes extra damage equals to 1d6 plus half your barbarian level. This extra damage is necrotic or radiant. That is pretty good. And even better, at 3rd level, well, there's more that isn't necessarily better, but a bit more situational. But you don't need it until you need it. So